Welcome to the Hockey Writers Prospect Corner, a show with our top prospects writing crew, bringing you the latest news, analysis, scouting reports, mocks, rankings, and much more. From the World Juniors to the NHL draft floor, from the farm to the NHL, our team covers everything that happens in the world of prospects. So sit back, grab a notebook, and get ready for Prospect Corner.
Hello and welcome back into another Prospect Corner here at the Hockey Writers. I'm your host, of course, Matthew Zator, joined in by Peter Baracchini and Greg Boysen. How you guys doing this week? And Olympics are starting here.
Doing great. Yeah. Team Canada's off to a really good start. What was it right now for the women's? 23 goals and 2 against.
Yeah.
Let's go.
They haven't played the Americans yet, so pump the brakes. They haven't played, the reigning gold medal winning Americans yet. So let's
gold
not plan the
medalists
parade just yet. Yes.
Gold medalists versus the world champs. That's going to be a fun one. Yeah.
It'll be good.
Yeah. I thought the Finland game was going to be tighter, but Canada just seems to be much stronger than most teams. But yeah, against the U.S. is going to be the big test, and that's the one we're looking forward to. So, speaking of Olympics, we've got Olympics coverage over at the Hockey Writers. Lots of stuff already on the site. Player profiles for the men's, women's recaps have already come out. There's profiles coming out on them as well. Lots of stuff going on at the Hockey Writers for the Olympics, for the NHL teams, all that stuff. So make sure you're following all that Olympic coverage, because there's a lot out there already, and the men's stuff hasn't even started yet. So lots of stuff. Just make sure you're following on the Hockey Writers. Let's do another show. This week we're gonna do something different. We're gonna do, it's been mid-season. It's hit mid-season in the NHL. Lots of rookies that have played, lots of standout rookies as well. So we're going to do awards. We're going to do the main NHL awards, but just for rookies. We're not talking about the regular guys, because we're a prospect show. We're a rookie show. We don't really care about those guys at all. So we're caring about the young guys. So we're going to do all the different awards and give picks on who we think should take those awards home. If rookies were the only guys in the NHL. So let's take a look at that. We're going to start with the Rookie of the Year, aka the Calder Trophy, the Art Ross, or whatever you want to call it. We're going to do the Rookie of the Year here. Greg, let's start with you. Who are you naming the Rookie of the Year for 2021-22?
Well, I know we got to go to Detroit. It's It stinks, but this kid doesn't stink. Lucas Raymond, I mean, he's been fabulous. Just a few months ago, we were all on here and we've all taken some heat. We all declared that the Calder Trophy race was over, give it to Cole Caulfield. And then real life happened. And Lucas Raymond has been, the top rookie in just a tremendous rookie class. I mean, that's one thing as we're going to discuss throughout this show, what a rookie class we are being treated with this season. So many great young players. It's been fun to watch. And Raymond, 11 goals, 35 assists so far for the Red Wings. As a team, the Wings started off hot, and now they've kind of, they're struggling, but they got a really bright future there. I got a feeling this isn't the last Detroit Red Wings prospect we're going to be gushing over before the end of this show. But the most impressive thing about Raymond to me is that he's not no real lulls in production this season. He started off hot, and he's pretty much kept it up most of the season. Like, he hasn't gone through any stretches of 5 or 6 games without a point or anything like that, which is pretty typical for a young kid, especially those who start off fast. All of a sudden, then maybe they'll go 10 or 12 games with only a point or two, but we haven't seen that. So he's dynamic, can score from a lot of spots on the ice, sets up his teammates well. He's the best rookie of this class so far. Not the most valuable, that's coming up, but the best is Lucas Raymond.
Yeah, Raymond's been pretty impressive for the Red Wings. Where would the Red Wings be without that guy? And of course, the next guy we'll talk about later on, I'm sure. Peter, who are you naming your Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Detroit. And, I agree with Greg. I mean, Lucas Raymond does have the potential to win the award, but the way that this next player has just improved has just been absolutely phenomenal. It looks like he's out, like just playing like a pro every single game. And I'm going to go with Moritz Seider. Fifth overall in points with 29, but 15 even strength points, 12 on the power play, 2 shorthanded points, and leads all rookies in total ice time per game with 22:39. I mean, this is a 20-year-old kid coming over, first time in the league, and he's already over closing in on 23 minutes per game. That is absolutely uncanny, and he composes himself very well, holds his own, very physical, aggressive, very great defensively. Great mobility. I mean, even a couple times throughout this whole entire season when I saw him play against the Maple Leafs, the way he was handling the puck was just absolutely phenomenal. It's like he's been in the league already 10 years. So I think that he has a really good chance to challenge Raymond. I do think it's going to go to one of those two right now. But the fact that he's been a workhorse for the Detroit Red Wings on the back end and blue line, I think he deserves my Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, he's been pretty amazing. It's pretty crazy that he was ranked to go later in the first round. I think closer to the second round when he was drafted. So I mean that this guy has just been, he's been amazing. So I mean, again, where would the Red Wings be without Seider and Raymond? I mean, I don't think they'd be very, very good. I'm gonna go and pick, we're gonna go with 3 different people here. I'm gonna go with Trevor Zegras, the Anaheim Ducks. I mean, he's just been a human highlight reel. He just did it in the All-Star game and the skills, that crazy breakaway challenge goal. That's ridiculous. Blindfolded too. I mean, jeez.
I love how he did the whole dodgeball thing. That was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I mean, again, he's a human highlight reel. Even how many goals he's done that not just goals but assists. That when he flipped over the net and had Milano bat that in. I mean, luck maybe involved in that as well, but just for he tried it and it worked is pretty crazy. And he's got 12 goals, 32 points this year. He is a -10. If you want to look at plus minus, it's kind of, the Anaheim Ducks are a good team and he's a -10. So, but I mean, that could be, a number of things, whatever, but, defensively, he may have to get better, but just what he's done in the league so far this year and just kind of burst on. I mean, we knew he was going to be good, but he's been really good and being at a top line, he could be a top line center. He probably is the top line center on the Ducks right now. So I'm going with Zegras. I mean, not saying that Seider and Raymond aren't deserving of this as well. So, but yeah, this been a crazy rookie class, like Greg said. Let's go to the next one, which could have some different names here or the same. The Hart Trophy, which is the most valuable player to his team, I think, not to the league. I think it's more to the team that they're on. If you take them off that team, what are they? So we'll start with Peter on this one. Who are you naming your Hart Trophy, aka MVP?
I'm going to go 2 for 2 with him, and I am going to say Moritz Seider. The Detroit Red Wings have allowed the 3rd most goals against in 161. If Moritz Seider was not on that team right now, I think that number would probably be a little bit higher, and their defense would be a little bit more shaky and a little bit not as strong and organized in their own end. But Seider brings a different element. I mean, he's leading that back end again. From all the points that I mentioned before, as a 20-year-old, having that impact, having that kind of responsibility coming in, it would be a whole different team if you take him out of the lineup. And I think because of his impact offensively and defensively on that back end, he's absolutely the most valuable player on that team throughout this whole entire year.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm just going to echo that right now. Seider's my Hart Trophy winner as well. So I mean, yeah, like you said, if you take him off that team, I don't know what the Red Wings are. I mean, on the back end, Phil Hronek is their, maybe the second best. I mean, Nick Leddy's on that team as well, but Seider just drives that back end. I mean, if you take him away, it's like for the Canucks, you take Quinn Hughes out of that lineup, they're not the best team. Seider's he's so good. His mobility is great. His hockey IQ, his first pass, he's physical. I mean, he's pretty much a complete package defenseman. And, like I said, it's amazing that, yes, he was drafted high, which now we see why he was drafted so high. Yzerman sure saw something in him. So, I mean, yeah, Seider's my MVP. Greg, are you agreeing with to make it a clean sweep here, or you got someone else?
I'm going to go a different direction. But first, before I reveal my Hart Trophy rookie, we've already got the subtitle for this episode. It's the Prospect Corner, quote unquote, Peter loves Mo Seider. That needs to be the title of this episode. I'm going to go with Trevor Zegras. That is my most valuable player. And the biggest reason why is because right now the Mighty Ducks are in a playoff spot, just 3 points behind the Vegas Golden Knights for first place in the Pacific Division. You take Trevor Zegras out of that lineup, they're not in a playoff spot. I'll bet the farm that they're not in a playoff spot without Trevor Zegras. Therefore, he's the most valuable player to his team. Yes, Seider has been great. Red Wings aren't making the playoffs this year, with or without him. So that's the difference. You talked a lot about Zegras, and yeah, he's been phenomenal. He's got 3 game-winning goals, 3 power play goals, 7 power play total points. So I mean, he's been doing it. He's putting up the numbers, but he's scoring important goals. He's won 3 games on his own off his stick. And that could be the difference between being in the playoffs and not being in the playoffs this year. So when you talk most valuable to his team, the Ducks are one of these surprise teams. Yes, they've got the advantage of playing in the weakest division in the league, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they're in a playoff spot because of what Trevor Zegras is doing, and not only there's a lot of good young talent on that team. Troy Terry's having a great year. John Gibson is back to being John Gibson. That's huge too. So he's not the sole reason they're in a playoff spot, but if he's not on that team, they're not in a playoff spot. I firmly believe that. So Trevor Zegras is my rookie Hart Trophy winner.
Yeah, it's hard to argue actually with that. Zegras being taken off the Ducks, they'd be pretty. I think they'd be up the creek. I think a little, but I mean, Getzlaf's been really good again.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of looking a little more like Getzlaf of old. So
it's kind of like if you have an old dog and then you bring in a puppy to the house, all of a sudden that old dog gets like youthful again. And that's exactly what's going on with Getzlaf and Zegras. He's put a burst into that old dog's legs.
That's very true. So I mean, that there's a whole lot of reasons why the Ducks are in where they are. So, but yeah, it's hard to argue that Zegras is there. Let's go to the next one, which may have that guy again. Norris Trophy, best defenseman as a rookie. I'll start. Moritz Seider. Seider's my Norris Trophy winner. I'm, a bit of repeating myself of basically just the same thing I just said before. Why he's just so good as a complete package defenseman. He plays the most minutes. Now he used to be a little behind Hronek in minutes played, but now he's the top guy in minutes. Blashill just doesn't hesitate to put him out on the ice, and that why not? I mean, he's just so good. So I mean, let's go to who's next? Peter, we'll go to you. Who are you going with your Norris Trophy?
Yeah, I mean, Mo Seider, but basically what we all talked about. But I also just want to throw out like a couple of honorable mentions too. I mean, let's face it, if Bowen Byram wasn't dealing with the concussions and the side effects that he was dealing with this season that forced him to take a step back and reevaluate and get healthy, he would be up there with Mo Seider in most of these categories and discussions. His mobility, his offensive prowess, and his just overall, ability to shoot the puck is like Cale Makar 2.0. Like he has that mindset. So he would have been up there. I mean, Sean Durzi is looking pretty good. Former Maple Leaf draft pick traded for, I believe in that Jake Muzzin deal. He's looking really good. And of course, Jamie Drysdale, 19 points in, 48 games with the Ducks. Another reason why they're being successful. A lot of good defensemen in this crop, but you know what? More Seider is easily running away with the top defenseman. But again, I do think that if Bowen Byram was still playing, he'd be up there right away.
Yeah, I agree with that. Byram it's unfortunate with his concussion problems, and hopefully he can recover from that because he's a really talented defenseman, and not just because we want to see him in the league. We want to see him, be healthy as a person, as a play, that his lifestyle isn't impacted from these from this concussions, because it's not a joke. Concussions are an issue in the NHL, and they have to be. Hopefully he's going to be okay. Greg, who you got for your Norris Trophy winner here?
Yeah, it's got to be Seider. I mean, Peter mentioned a couple other guys, and you're 100% correct. If it was Byram, and he was playing full strength, he'd definitely be giving Seider a run for his money. But there's just no doubt. I mean, when you look at the criteria that the Norris Trophy is voted on these days, yes, it says it's the best defenseman, but let's face it, it's the best offensive defenseman. I've been saying for years they need to make the Norris Trophy the best defensive defenseman award, and then have the Bobby Orr Trophy and give that to the best offensive, because there's a lot of guys who are better, quote, defensemen that just don't get the recognition. But that's a different discussion for another episode. But it's Seider. But when you look at the voting criteria today, he fits that. He's got 94 shots on goal. He's got the 4 goals, the 29 points. He has 2 game-winning goals. He plays big-time minutes, as we've mentioned. His defensive numbers are they're room for improvement there, but again, a lot of those things aren't necessarily, they're more of a product of the whole thing going on in Detroit. His Corsi is under 50%. He's a -5. But again, those aren't necessarily things that he's doing wrong. And he's a young defenseman, and young defensemen make mistakes. It's part of the game. But I tell you, the first time I saw this kid play in person with the Grand Rapids Griffins, it was a game in Rockford in the 2 seasons ago, and I think he was only 18 at the time. First shift, I saw him play in person. He stood out. He just has that. Your eyes gravitate to him the second he steps off the bench, and he's a fantastic player. I wish he was playing for a different team, but that doesn't change the fact that he's a phenomenal talent, and the Red Wings did a great job, quote unquote, reaching for him where they took him. They're looking pretty darn smart right now.
Yeah, I'll say, as much as well, you just watch the grind line of how much they love Norris Seider. That's a clean sweep on that. Norris Seider, Norris Trophy. I mean, I think he'll probably win some in his career once the Red Wings get all their, stuff figured out and become a really good team again, because I think that's definitely on the horizon. Let's go to the Rocco Richard Trophy, which we're going to go with who will be the leading goal scorer at the end of the season, not right now, because right now it's Tanner Jeannot. It'd be kind of boring just to say, we'll just skip over this because Jeannot's got it. But the season's not over yet, and there's a lot of guys that are kind of around there. So let's go with the Rocco Richard Trophy at the end of the year. Peter, who you got as your Rocco Richard Trophy winner?
Yeah, again, people may say my bias is showing, but I actually do think this. Michael Bunting from the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Surprise!
Surprise, right? But in all fair, in reality, I mean, 13 goals right now. He's playing on the top line with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. He's that perfect go-between kind of player, similar to what Zach Hyman was. And I mean, we don't want to compare Bunting to Hyman because they're 2 different players, but he's fitting in that role very well. And the fact that he has 13 goals, being in front of the net, being a presence, we saw how much of an impact he had in that Detroit game, leading the charge back, scoring a hat trick. He has 13 right now, 10 the last season, and 24 overall for his career. So I think he's doing a great job getting to the front of the net, getting those, greasy goals, tap-ins, deflections, what have you. He's not, letting Matthews or Marner do the work. He's playing his part, and he's getting involved in the offense. So I do think that, when it's all said and done, the fact that he's still on the top line I think it's going to go very well for him, and he may come away with the most goals out of this rookie class. Again, all hypothetical, but the way that he's going right now, it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, I'm just gonna blow my horn a bit. I picked him in the fantasy draft. Everyone was like, "Why are you picking Bunting? He's not going to do much." He's playing in the top. I knew he was going to play in the top 6 and playing with some talent that like Matthews, Marner, and Nylander, those guys. I mean, he's going to put up points, and it's not like he's not talented. He can put the puck in the net, and look what he's doing. So, yeah, Bunting for sure. Definitely a candidate there. Greg, who do you got for your Rocket Richard Trophy?
I'm actually going to say that this probably might be an upset if it happens. But I'm going to say Tanner Jeannot still leads the rookies at the end of the year for a lot of the same reasons Peter picked Michael Bunting, is because he's not flashy. This is a guy I've seen for 3 years in the AHL with Milwaukee and the Wolves last year. He's just that prototypical old school big power forward, just gets to the front of the net, cleans up rebounds, lets pucks hit off of him. You put him on lines with skilled players, he's going to create room, he's going to get to those rebounds, he's going to have shots hit off his legs and deflections, and he's going to get those greasy dirty goals. And Nashville lives on those type of goals, always has, and they still do. Nashville doesn't have a lot of that high-end talent. They don't have the Austin Matthews and the Mitch Marners to put a Tanner Jeannot with. They thrive on grinding out goals, and that is Tanner Jeannot's game. He is on the perfect team for his skill set. And if you look at what he's doing, he's leading the league, and he's not even in the top 6 in Nashville. He's playing on their third line, and he gets very little power play time. He gets power. He has in the past, but as of now, he's not even on one of the power play lines, which I think is the mistake. I think he needs to be that nut front guy on your power play. If he gets power play time in the second half of the season, he's going to start picking up even more goals. So, he's leading I don't think it's a fluke that he's leading right now because of the team he plays for and the way he plays. It's a perfect match. That's why I think he'll still lead. The high skilled players, they'll go through slumps. They'll go through bad stretches. The guys that just stand in front of that, willing to take the beating and score those dirty goals, those guys don't slump very often. They get the job done. Yeah. So I'm sticking with Jeannot.
Yeah, it's a good pick. I mean, he's leading it right now, and kind of came out of nowhere. He wasn't on my Calder Trophy tracker, which I've been doing monthly. He will be on it this time, that's for sure. Kind of snuck in there. I was like, all of a sudden he's leading in goals, and I'm like, what the heck? Yeah, he's kind of surprised. So I'm gonna go with the guy we mentioned already, is Lucas Raymond. I think he's going to come back and get that goal scoring lead again. He held it for 2 months with that, and he still leads in points. But I think he's going to come back with the goals, and hopefully. I think Detroit has a chance of making the playoffs. I mean, they're right there, kind of on the cusp. I think Raymond's going to be a guy that will start scoring a lot more as down the stretch, depending on what Detroit does at the deadline. It may trade some guys that may make it harder for him to do that, but I think he's still going to be. He'll be the guy leading at the end. But Jeannot and Bunting, a definite chance for that as well. So. Just it looks at what the rookie class is this year. There's just so many guys that could potentially do it. And it's funny how we just had Caulfield and hands down everything at the beginning of the season. And does he only have 1 goal so far this year? So
yeah, 1 goal,
maybe we were wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe we all said he was going to win the Calder Trophy. Maybe we meant the Calder Cup. Maybe we just went the wrong Calder.
Don't say that to Habs fans.
I don't care. They're not my rival.
Yeah, I got to deal with Blaine and Trey quite a bit. So
yeah, right. But yeah, it's. I mean, we can't. I mean, everyone was saying Caulfield, and it's not just us. It wasn't just us saying Caulfield was going to be the guy. So I mean, just and Montreal wasn't supposed to be last in the league. So.
And based on the play last year alone, I mean, who wouldn't say Cole Caulfield? I mean, let's be realistic.
Yeah, no, it's a definite. I mean, it's just looking. I think a lot of teams, again, it's just a culmination of everything what's happened in Montreal. I mean, it's like I said, we could have a whole segment of why Caulfield isn't doing what he's done, right? But yeah, so let's take a pause. Let's pause the show for a sec here and just remind everyone to make sure you're checking out that Olympic coverage over at the Hockey Writers. Lots of different stuff, lots of features, lots of recaps, analysis, all that great stuff on the men's and women's. Women's have already played 2 games for Team Canada, outscored teams like crazy. Sarah Fillier's just filling the net. She's only 21, and what she's done already in these Olympics, kind of emerging as a big talent for Canada.
Yes.
So make sure checking that out. I'm sure there's going to be features on her as well as the tournament goes on. So make sure checking all that coverage out at thehockeywriters.com. So let's move on. Let's talk about some defense type stuff here in the Selke Trophy. This is for the forward that's had the best type of two-way game in a rookie class here. Greg, we'll start with you. Who are you pegging as the Selke Trophy for rookies here?
Usually this category is kind of tough because you got to really do some research, and there's so many in the rookie race. This was probably the easiest one to pick up at all. And it's Anton Lundell of the Florida Panthers by a mile and a half. This kid, holy crap, this kid has been phenomenal at both ends of the ice. I mean, we talk about his offense. He's got 10 goals, 32 points. He's a plus 25. He has a 53.6 Corsi 4% while starting over 54% of his zones. It starts in the defensive zone on one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah.
The Panthers already have the reigning Selke Trophy winner in Alexander Barkov, and now they get this kid too. Whew, they are going to be really good for a while down there in Florida, and those are the types of players you need come postseason. So I'm really excited to see what he can do in the playoffs. He's going to get his first taste of that. Let's see when he makes that step up. When the game changes, let's see how he reacts. I'm looking forward to that. But man, the Panthers hit it out of the park when they drafted Lundell, and he's been fabulous. All 200 feet of the ice. There's no doubt he's the rookie Selke winner, and he's one of these guys that this keeps going. He may get he's on his way to getting a couple Selkes, real Selkes during his career if he keeps playing like this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I agree. I'm not gonna disagree with that. I had Lundell as my pick as well, but like what you said, Greg, it's been just amazing. And I'm pretty sure he's killing penalties for the Panthers as well. He is a centerman. He hasn't taken as many draws. He's a 44% on faceoffs, but again, he's young. He'll probably get better at that. It's something he's been known for in the past, as being a good on faceoffs. He's got 2 shorthanded goals as well, or not shorthanded assists. So I mean, he is killing penalties. 2 game winners. He's that plus 25. That's pretty crazy. I mean, yes, Florida Panthers are a really good team, but he's also playing a lot. I mean, his average ice time, he's got, games he's playing over 17 minutes. He had 5 assists, 5 assists at the end of January there. And that's pretty crazy to have a 5-point game as a rookie. So yeah, and a plus 6 in that game as well. So this kid is the real deal, and 12th overall by the Panthers. They sure got a talent there. Peter, are you agreeing with that? Anton Lundell's the Selke?
I sure am, Matt. I mean, I remember like in 2020, there was a lot of questions about his goal scoring and his offensive production. And 32 points in 43 games, earning third line minutes on a deep Florida Panthers team. I mean, goal scoring and production is not an issue for them. For him, actually, sorry. And yeah, you mentioned his penalty killing time. He's almost close to averaging 3 minutes per game, 244 of ice time on the penalty kill. And Greg, you mentioned his zone starts at even strength. He's at 54%, 62% in every situation. So he's being relied on heavily, but I want to get to his on ice even strength goal differential. Plus 23. And the next one or the next two that have the best goal differential are Alexandre Carrier and Martin Farabee from Nashville and Washington, respectively. Michael Bunting with 9, and then Tanner Jeannot right after to round out the top 5. That is a big margin in between Lundell and the second place Carrier. So the fact that he's able to produce and he's able to keep the puck out of his own end and mitigate, I mean, obviously not technically the amount of shots against, because it's Corsi 4 at all situations is 48, but at even strength, he's at 53.6. So, that number does go down because of the penalty killing. He's in his own zone, but he's fantastic with his positioning, great awareness, active stick to break up the plays, and he transitions so smoothly to offense. So, yeah, he is definitely going to be my, Selke pick.
Clean sweep. Like Greg said, it's like by a mile. I mean, I don't know. Who would you pick as second? I mean, I don't know if there's anyone really.
He's been so good that I would even consider voting for him for the actual Selke Award for the whole league right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and he plays on a team with the guy that won it last year. When we talk about wow, great job by the Red Wings getting Mo Seider, early. How the heck did this kid fall to 12 is what I want to know. Man, he's a top 5 scoring pick. But
that was the main thing throughout that year, and I was really high on him because he had that vision and awareness right away.
Hindsight's always 2020, but he's gonna be that guy in a couple years that everybody's gonna be like, he should have been top 3 pick, but shoulda.
He's been great, and he's got that leadership too, because he was captain of Team Finland for the World Juniors. So I mean, he's basically like a Patrice Bergeron. A lot of the similar traits too. So this guy, he's been pretty good to put it lightly. The Lundell's for sure the Selke there. Let's move to the next one, the Lady Byng Trophy, which is for gentlemanly conduct like that. This is usually given to the guy that has the least amount of penalty minutes. But I mean, this guy's a sportsman-like type player for this trophy. So, Peter, we'll go to you first on this one. Who's your Lady Byng winner?
Yeah, this is really tough. I mean, because most of the times these rookies, they're playing, third, fourth line minutes. They don't play a lot. Given the fact that they don't have that much responsibility, but I'm going to go with Lassie Thompson on the Ottawa Senators. I mean, he averages 17 minutes per game. He's only played in 16 games, but he only has 2 penalty minutes. And there are a lot of other players that have 2 penalty minutes or 0 or what have you, but he hasn't registered a penalty minute or a penalty since November 13th against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Gone clean throughout the whole entire stretch without taking a penalty. Has been waiting patiently for his chance to crack the Ottawa Senators, and I think now he's getting that opportunity, given that they did have their own injuries and COVID situations. So I think this is an opportunity for him to showcase his talents and, that he isn't an afterthought in the system and that he's going to be an impactful defenseman for them.
Yeah, that's a good pick. It was a difficult choice for this one. Greg, who you got as your Lady Byng Trophy winner there?
I'm going to stick with Lundell on this pick, just because he's got 12 penalty minutes in 43 games. And we just talked about, he's playing center, he's playing a defensive role. And for a young kid having a huge defensive responsibility, playing the toughest defensive forward position in the game, to only have 12 penalty minutes in 43 games in that role with that type of responsibility, that's very impressive. So I'm going to stick with Lundell.
Yeah, that's a good pick too. I'm going to go with the guy we've mentioned before too, and Lucas Raymond. He's only got 6 penalty minutes, and he plays a ton for the Red Wings. And his last penalty minutes came almost like a month ago or something like that. So, beginning of January, he had a couple. But I mean, he went big stretches without taking a penalty. And when you play a lot and yes, he's an offensive player, probably draws more penalties than he has to take, but playing so much and only having 6 penalty minutes is pretty good. So I'm going to go with Raymond from Detroit there. Okay, let's do our final one, and let's give some love to the goaltenders and the Vezina Trophy. This one, there's not a lot of big time rookie goaltenders, so this one may be a little difficult to pick. I'm going to start. I'm going to go with Karel Vejmelka from the Arizona Coyotes. Yes, I mean, this may say why he's got over 3 goals against average, but he's got a over 900 save percentage, and he plays for one of the worst teams in the league. I say Vezina is also an MVP trophy as well. In my mind, if you take that goaltender away from that team, what are they? The Arizona Coyotes would be pretty bad without how Vejmelka's played this year. And he came from basically nowhere, from the Czech league, and came over and is, of course, thrown into the fire on a team that just doesn't defend and don't score many goals. So, I mean, then he has allowed a bit, but Peter can attest to how good he is. He kind of shut down the Toronto Maple Leafs in one of that game.
Hey,
over
he also
40
did a great
saves,
job against the Colorado Avalanche too.
Yeah, the Avalanche too. Yeah.
There you go.
So he's put up some great performances against some teams that should be blowing out the Coyotes. So he's a pretty good goaltender. What would he be on a team that actually plays defense? I mean, he may find out on the Coyotes and if he stays there, but we'll see. But that's my pick, even though it's not looking at the numbers, you wouldn't think that, but that's who I'm going with. Peter, who you got as your Vezina Trophy winner?
Thanks for rubbing salt in the wounds again, Matt. I mean, I'm going to go back to Detroit, and I'm going to say Alex Nedeljkovic. I mean, there's a reason why they brought him in. He had a fantastic rookie season. He was nominated last year, I believe, given the fact that he was on the Carolina Hurricanes, but he doesn't have a strong team in front of him. I mean, go from a strong defensive team in the Hurricanes to the Detroit Red Wings, who's rebuilding, and he's doing fairly well. I mean, 911 save percentage, 290 goals against average, even win record, but let's face it, he's kept them in quite a bit of games, and he's been the stronghold for that in the crease for them this whole entire season. And he's going to be for them for the foreseeable future. I mean, he's got great mobility, great movement. Obviously, some games the goals against are going to be a little bit higher than others, but you know what? He's done a fantastic job in that. And like you said, the same thing with Karel Vejmelka, Matt. I mean, if Alex Nedeljkovic was out of this net, the Detroit Red Wings would be, in that lottery pick with the Arizona Coyotes as well. So the fact that Nedeljkovic has kept them in and around that top 10, just outside the top 10 range, shows a bit of improvement for them. And I think that that's going to be a really good sign for them going forward. And Nedeljkovic is going to be that placeholder until, a guy named Sebastian Koza comes up.
Yeah, Nedeljkovic he's basically the fill-in until that happens, I think. And he's still relatively young, so they don't have to rush Kosa into the league, which is great. Greg, who do you got as your Vezina Trophy winner?
I'm a big fan of Nedeljkovic. I still couldn't believe that he cleared waivers. Anybody could have had him for nothing before he got traded to Detroit. I wanted the Blackhawks to be all in on that, but I enjoyed covering him at the 2019 Calder Cup final that he helped the Charlotte Checkers with. But he's not my pick. I'm picking a guy that literally barely qualifies as a rookie this year. When you look at the NHL rookie qualifications, it's somebody that has played less than 25 games in one season or less than 6 games in each of the previous 2 seasons. My guy played 5 games in 2019-20, 24 games in 2021. So he's still a rookie, literally by the barest of minimums. And I'm talking about Kaapo Kähkönen, the really young goaltender for the Minnesota Wild. They're backup, but he's been called upon. The Wild are one of those surprise teams. A lot of people kind of had them right at that, like maybe second wild card team. And they're neck and neck with the Colorado Avalanche this year. And Kähkönen's a big reason he's not the starter. Their starter is Cam Talbot, who's an all-star this year, but he's dealt with injuries and he's dealt with COVID issues. I know this because he's on my fantasy team. The dude won't stay on the ice, but Kähkönen has been, he's stepped in. He's had 14 starts, a lot of those in a row while Talbot's been out. He's gone 10-2-2 with a .922 save percentage and a 2.53 goals against average. You talk about most valuable. If Kakinen doesn't fill in for Talbot as well as they are, who knows where Minnesota is in those standings? Are they in a playoff spot? Are they in a wild card spot? He's helped them stay atop the Central Division. They're in second place, but they're right there, keeping pace with the Avalanche. So if they don't have a guy like that steps in, God only knows what happens in Minnesota. So the depth in that organization right now is incredible. This is a guy 2 years ago, when I did my top 10 NHL goalie prospects, he was my second prospect pick on that list. I've been watching him with the Iowa Wild for a couple seasons. He's just he's a franchise type goalie. You may not hear, I know the Wild fans have been waiting for him for a long time, but they've been patient with him. They've done the right. They've handled him correctly. A lot of guys wanted him up 2-3 years ago when he started dominating in the AHL, and he has dominated in the AHL for long stretches. But they've gone the right way. They've taken their time, and we all know Cam Talbot. He's been around for a while. He's not getting any younger. This is, I think, their guy. But then again, just like with the Red Wings, now all of a sudden the Wild have this Jasper Wallstead kid coming up. So, but they have Kakinen who they can the same thing with the Red Wings and Coast. And now the Wild can be just as patient with Wallstead as they were with Kakinen. I mean, that's a good problem to have Kakinen and Wallstead on your team. You know, that's every general manager in the world wishes they had that problem right now. So that he's my Vezina. He's been super valuable and great for the Minnesota Wild, another team that pains me to say nice things about, but man, they got a bright future up there. And frankly, the fans in Minnesota deserve it. I kid as a, you know, I've hated Minnesota hockey since the days of the North Stars, but they deserve it up there, and they've got a bright future.
Yeah, it's amazing I don't think they protected him in the expansion draft.
Right. Another guy could have been had for nothing.
The Kraken, I don't know what they were doing. Some guys they could have picked. I mean, yeah, Grubauer was, you know, you're getting him. I mean, they signed him in free agency, and he's supposed to be good, but he hasn't been overly good. But Kakinen's a guy that you could have had for nothing, and he's young. I mean, you could have built kind of around him, but
now when the Wild want to trade him because they got Wallstead coming, he's going to cost a fortune.
Oh yeah.
And you could have had him for nothing. Yeah, crazy how those things work out.
King's ransom.
Again, you could have a whole show on why the Kraken, decisions they made in that expansion draft, but they may be looking at free agency as something they're going to do because they need have a lot of cap space coming up. So we'll see what happens with them there. They also got Beniers coming up too. So guys, pretty good prospects.
Never heard of that guy. We should talk about
he's all right.
We should talk about that guy.
Yeah, we should mention that guy.
Well, with that said, let's go to our prospects of the week to finish off the show here. Greg, let's start with you. Who's your prospect of the week?
Well, I'm going to talk about a guy we have talked about before, and I think it's a guy we've all been fans of, and that's Frank Nazar of the U.S. national team over in the USHL. He's going to be a first-round pick, no doubt about that. That program keeps churning out great players, and he's on that list. He's just been fantastic his last few games. In his last, he's got 4 goals and 11 points in his last 5 USHL games. So he's been doing it. He had a 3-assist game and a 2-assist game back to back there. So this kid, I mean, he's not the biggest guy in the world at just 5'11", but he plays like he's 6'3". He goes to the front of the net. He's not afraid to mix it up, but he also has got the high skill to do the highlight reel type plays as well. He plays a really good 200-foot game. I think one of the most impressive things to me, and it's not something that's going to show up on a lot of score sheets, but the way he protects the puck when he has it is elite. It's just, and even if he just has this weird presence where if he gets in behind the defense, he can feel when that defenseman gets within like 2 feet of him and he's protecting the puck. It's impressive how he does that. Those are the things that like I don't want to, like, they don't, as I said, they don't show up on score sheets, and your average fan doesn't really, they just want to see the goal scored. They want to see the points, but those are the things that just jump off the page for me that make the superstars. And I think whoever drafts Nazar in the first round this year is going to get themselves a heck of a player, and a really good top 6 NHL player.
Yeah, it seems like the rankings don't favor him very much, at least central scouting. But yeah, I agree with all that. I think he's pretty high on my list for first round picks right now. So, Peter, who do you got as your prospect of the week?
I go to the OHL. I'm heading out west. I'm heading out to your area, Matt, and I'm picking Logan Stankoven from the Kamloops Blazers. I mean, this was just an absolutely insane week for him, but over his last 10 games, he has 25 points, and that he's 57 overall, 4th in the league. It's just absolutely phenomenal what he's able to do, and it's just mind-boggling how he was able to fall to the mid-second round after I'm pretty sure me, you, and Andrew had him well within that first round, late first, but still a first round prospect regardless. And in his last 4 games alone, he has 13 points. And in back-to-back games, he had a 5-point game and a 4-point game, 3 goals, 2 assists in the first, and then 1 goal and 3 assists in the next. And it's just absolutely amazing of what he was able to do this past week. He's just dominating. Don't even look at the size of his height at 5'8". He plays a bigger game than what his size shows, and similar to Frank Nazar, he's very quick, agile, protects the puck extremely well, and he's got a rocket of a shot. So, Logan Stankoven, you are my prospect of the week.
He's also a little bit of a pest as well.
Oh,
so I mean,
perfect.
So I mean, this guy, spoiler alert, if you listen to the Western Centric podcast, he's going to be on the show coming up here. So stay tuned for that. We're actually going to talk to him. So what he's done this season. And so that's going to be fun. My prospect of the week is a forward that got passed over the last 2 drafts, and James Hardy. I'm not sure why he's been passed over so much here, but you're looking at, he didn't play last year. Because of the OHL shutdown, but he's a talented forward, and he was really good in that tournament that was put together by a bunch of different players that wanted to get some draftees in and playing around, trying to get scouts to look at them, and he was really good in that. So that hopefully got some scouts to perk up and see what the guy can do, and he's followed it up with another season, a 30-goal season already. He's on pace to shatter his career, his year that he had before not playing a whole season. And hopefully, a scout looks at it, because he's got great skill. And, this is a guy that should be at least drafted. And, but again, I mean, even if he isn't, he's probably going to get on the radar of someone, and to sign him after this, because he's 20 years old now. This is his last kick at the can, if you will, on the draft. So hopefully he gets drafted, because he's done enough in my mind to warrant at least a chance that he could be something in the NHL one day, or at least somewhere. So James Hardy's my pick for prospect of the week. So yeah, so that's our show for another week here. My rankings are coming out soon, so we'll talk about that probably next show. But yeah, that was a fun episode talking about rookies in the NHL and picking some awards. So thanks, Peter and Greg, for joining me here and picking those awards. So just finish it off. If I haven't convinced you to check out that Olympic coverage, I'm going to say it again. Check it out, because there's lots of great stories, even though the NHLers aren't there. The women's hockey is already going. Lots of great storylines already with some of the players that are playing over there and in the women's hockey. I already mentioned Sarah Fillier. She's been a standout player for Team Canada already in 2 games, and has got 4 goals already. I mean, and Natalie Spooner's been just racking up the points as well. It leads the tournament in scoring already as well. So definitely check out that stuff. I mean, the women's games are actually on at a decent time to watch as well. Out west here, it's at 8:00. But I mean, east, it's a little bit later at 11, but I mean, it's still not bad.
Gonna need a lot.
It's not
of
like
coffee,
it's 2,
though.
3 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, so
definitely
take a look at all that.
This is where the DVRs come in handy. Watch that with the morning coffee and get caught up.
Yeah.
The good thing is,
yeah.
I was just about to say, the good thing is for the Eastern time, they do re-air some of those late night shows. I mean, we saw that with the Tokyo games in 2022. They were re-airing some of the missed events, the more important ones. So you know what? Got that going for us as well.
Set those DVRs.
Yep.
Yeah. And of course, if you can't watch it, check out our recap posts the next morning. There's ones every morning for most of the games. So definitely take a look at that and all the coverage of the Olympics on the hockeywriters.com. For Peter and Greg, this is Matthew. And thanks for joining us in another edition of the Prospect Corner. We'll see you next time.